Here are some tips on how to quiet a noisy classroom. First, I'll talk about things that don't work, and then I'll talk about things that do work. So the first thing that doesn't work is yelling. So, if you have a class of even 5, 10, 15, 30 students who are all kind of talking loudly, yelling at each other, you trying to yell over top of that just is not going to work. I get exhausted doing that. I don't like raising my voice ever. So that really just stresses me out and it's not that effective. The second thing that doesn't really work is sending out the problem student. So, this can kind of be a little bit effective if you do it once or kind of like send them out and then have a little talk in the hallway with them, something like that. But just as a regular occurrence, sending a student out into the hallway is not great. That student isn't learning. If their parents are paying for that lesson, they're probably not that happy that the student is sitting in the hallway for most of the lesson. So try to avoid this whenever possible. The third thing that doesn't work is always enlisting the help of a co-teacher or a principal. This is especially true if you're an ESL teacher. You kind of think, oh, well, they speak, principal speaks Korean, they can speak Korean to the student as well, and maybe if you're not fluent in Korean. But that actually just contributes to students losing respect for you. If they know that you can't manage your own classroom and can't control your own classroom and you're not kind of the final word or authority on what happens during that time, they will not respect you and they will not listen to you. So try to avoid that whenever possible and try to deal with your own issues in your own class. And the final thing that doesn't really work that well is to have students sitting in their desk, quietly studying all the time. Most people get bored after like 2 minutes or 5 minutes. So instead in my classes, I try to do some activities like maybe surveys, running dictation, kind of some interesting things where students are up out of their desk, they're walking around, they're moving, they're speaking to each other, they're talking to some different people. And so kind of try to design your lesson. So you do have some like quiet desk work, but then also some kind of more interesting and kind of active things going on in your class. This is especially true with children who have a hard time focusing. All right, let's talk about the things that do work in terms of quieting a noisy classroom. The first one is to have some rules. My main rule that applies to this is there's only one person talking at a time in my classes. So I'm very clear about this and I remind students as much as necessary. So if I'm talking, I expect everybody to be listening. If there's another student talking, I expect all the other students to be listening. If that doesn't happen, I actually will stop class and I will look at the person and say, why are you talking right now? John is talking, or why are you talking right now? I am trying to talk right now. And I just look at them and then students usually kind of feel like, oh no, she means serious and she means business. So they will usually just stop talking and it's usually not an issue really for the rest of the semester. The next thing you can do is prepare well. So where classes usually go wrong or students start to get really noisy is if there's downtime between things. So if you're searching in your bag for a little worksheet or like you're looking for the board marker or the eraser or you're trying to like load something on the computer, students will inevitably start talking. And after that, it can be quite hard to calm them down. So instead have everything lined up, ready to go on your desk, all the stuff loaded on the computer so you have almost zero transition time between activities. The third tip is to lower your voice. So instead of yelling, if you start to speak very quietly, students will kind of strain to hear you and they will often be very quiet. They will say, oh, the teacher's talking, but I can't hear her. What is she saying? So lower your voice. The fourth thing you can do, this is kind of a once or twice a semester thing in case of like dire circumstances, is to just go outside. So if students are yelling, you've had enough, just go outside for about 30 seconds. Of course, make sure that the students can't like lock the door if you teach kids. This happened to my friend one time, but anyway, that's a whole other thing. So just go outside and students will kind of be thrown off a little bit. They'll say, why is the teacher outside the classroom? What's happening? And then just kind of come in and then just kind of conduct your lesson and you don't even often need to say anything. If you do this all the time, it kind of loses its effectiveness. So just once or twice a semester is good. And the final thing you can do is to do a call and response. So have a look on Pinterest or just Google call and response classroom and you'll see a million ideas. So that's just you do something and the students do something back. So those are all my tips for how to quiet a noisy classroom. Please leave a comment and tell me your favorite way. Also, be sure to check out my book, ESL, EFL Teaching Practice and Methodology. Also, please hit like, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.